Not too long ago, subcompact sedans were budget meals on wheels that really didn't do more than get you from point A to point B. But in recent years, B-segment sedans have made great strides in giving you so much more. The one we're going to review today wears the Geely badge, a badge that's known to raise the bar for each segment that it competes in. So let's see if it can do it again for the subcompact car segment. Allow me to present the Geely Emgrand Premium. It's hard to believe that this is a subcompact sedan because there's nothing subcompact about it. For starters, this is almost 4 inches wider and 8 inches longer than a Toyota Vios. Heck, it's even longer and wider than a Toyota Corolla, which is a segment higher. But aside from its size, what really makes this stand out from other subcompact sedans is its design. It just looks way more mature and upscale. There's definitely no mistaking this for a fleet vehicle. Personally, I love how the silhouette and body lines are kept simple, and the sophistication lies in the details. That's a formula used by a lot of high-end cars, which unfortunately is the flip side of a lot of subcompact sedans that we see in our market today. Up front, you get what they call the Energy Pulse grille, which features vertical lines to give it that extra touch of elegance. You get projector-type LEDs that come equipped with automatic headlight control and LED DRLs and turn indicators. Along the side, you get these gorgeous 17-inch wheels that are wrapped in 205 50 series tires. You also get front and rear disc brakes and power folding side mirrors that are heated. What you don't get are body lines that look like they were sculpted by a 5-year-old with a piece of clay. All you have here is this fluidic shoulder line that makes its way from the front to the rear with no fuss whatsoever. Towards the rear, you get this quarter glass rear window, which kind of reminds me of the first generation Volvo S80, which we all know Geely has every right to draw inspiration from. At the back, you get these gorgeous LED taillights that put on a bit of a light show each time you lock and unlock the car. Now, to get something like this in any car is really great, but to have it at this price point in this segment really goes to show how Geely can spoil its customers. Another neat trick is how you can open this trunk hands-free, which will come in really handy whenever you take the missus to IKEA, because chances are you'll have your hands full. The good thing is you get 500 liters of cargo space and foldable rear seats for even more shopping. Now let's go check out the rest of the interior before I say something that I'll regret. But before we do that, let me start the car up first. I'll tell you right off the bat that this is by far the best interior at this price point in this segment. It can even rival mid-size sedans that cost twice as much. This is such a lavish interior, and you get soft touch materials almost everywhere. There's a padded dashboard and soft touch materials on the door cards. You get this blue and white combination of suede and leatherette, and it just makes this interior feel so opulent. You'd actually forget you're in a subcompact sedan. But aside from the aesthetic, the seats are also extremely comfortable. There's really good bolstering, and under thigh support is adequate, although I feel that the bottom of the seat is a bit too close to the floor. However, you can adjust that because these seats are power adjustable. Now, the driving position is also spectacular because the dash sits low and you get a tilt and telescopic steering wheel to really find the best driving position possible. Now, moving on to the tech, and there is a lot to talk about here, but let's start with the instrument cluster, where you get this 12.3-inch fully digital instrument cluster. Now, there's not much you can do in the way of configuration. Even if you switch the drive modes, it stays the same. But you get all the information you need and a tire pressure monitoring system. Now, the infotainment system comes in the form of this 8-inch touchscreen. It doesn't have Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, but it does have wireless mirror link, which is the next best thing. You also get a rear camera with active guidelines. This is made into 6 speakers for the premium variant, and I must say that it sounds pretty decent. especially after playing around with the equalizers. Now you can also use this touchscreen to manipulate certain functions of the vehicle, such as your drive modes, where you can choose from Eco, Comfort, and Sport. Surprisingly, this is also where you control the sunroof. But let me shut that because it's really hot. Now you also get a fully automatic climate control system. And I love how there are physical buttons which makes operating it a breeze. But if that isn't your thing, you can also operate it or adjust the temperature and fan speed from the infotainment system. Other handy features here is a USB port and a 12-volt socket, and there's really more than enough storage. These are fairly big door pockets, and you get additional storage here underneath the armrest. Now moving on to the rear seats, the fact that this is significantly bigger than other cars in its class means that you get more space back there. There's adequate head and legroom, and you can stretch out by putting your feet underneath the front seats, which means that your thighs are firmly planted. Another nice touch is the fact that you get rear air vents, and it's just as opulent back there. Now, the plastics on the door cards are a bit harder than what you get up front, but nonetheless, it's still a very opulent part of the car. Now it's time to see what this actually feels like out on the road, so I guess it's time to take it for a spin. Now on paper, there really isn't much to get excited about. After all, what it says there is that this only has a 1.5-liter naturally aspirated engine that puts out 102 horsepower and 142 Newton meters of torque. Plus, it's mated to a CVT. So that really won't get your blood pumping. But as soon as you get behind the wheel of this thing and you start to drive it, it totally proves to you that numbers aren't everything. Because the engine is quite peppy. The transmission is responsive. So this may not win a quarter-mile drag race, but it feels responsive and it's predictable. And as a daily driver, that's what really counts. I just love how much torque there is on the low end, which makes it always feel light on its feet. And even when you put your foot down and you bring it up to higher revs, it doesn't drone as much, even if it is mated to a CVT. And the power doesn't taper off as you climb up the revs. So, you know, there really isn't anything to complain about as far as power delivery is concerned. Now the steering is extremely light. You can definitely tell that this was tuned more for comfort than anything else. And I think that's a good thing because that's how you want it in a daily driver. But nonetheless, the steering ratio is also responsive, so it makes up for the fact that it's extremely light. Now there are two things I want to highlight that I feel this car does extremely well, especially in terms of driving dynamics. First thing I want to discuss is the driving ergonomics, because everything just feels well within reach and the driving position is top-notch. The visibility is also spectacular and it makes it really easy to drive. It never feels like a chore, even if you sit behind the wheel for hours. Now the next thing is, and I think this is the car's greatest highlight against all its competition, is the fact that it delivers so much comfort. Now this still has a torsion beam suspension at the back, but it's tuned to be soft and comfortable. So the road imperfections never feel jarring. Now in terms of handling, this won't exactly feel like it's on rails, but it may not hit a home run in terms of providing a sporty drive, but it definitely knocks the ball out of the park when it comes to comfort. And for a lot of people shopping for a car in this segment, that is definitely more important. The Geely Emgrand Premium can be yours for only 908,000 pesos. And I'd say that's a real bargain because Geely has managed to raise the bar yet again for the subcompact car segment. But as far as I'm concerned, the Emgrand is only a subcompact sedan on paper because in terms of space, features, and comfort, it just offers so much more. Thanks for watching.